owner of a fashion brand as well. So an SME owner, like many of you yourselves.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. Yeah. So I'm just going to start. We are all, if I'm not mistaken, at least we have like 10 startup founders here and entrepreneurs here. And every entrepreneur has their own definition of growth, right? But as they are on the panel now, I want to ask what growth means to them. And then since you are holding the mic, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I found this a really interesting question, especially where we're focusing on SMEs. It's such a broad space, right? So I wanted to start by asking the audience really if you know what the definition of a SME is. Anybody?
That's a question for us.
Yeah.
A quick definition of SME. Anybody wanna? Bye.
Small medium enterprise.
Okay, that's right. But within that, right, there's clusters of businesses. Okay, so you would have like and it varies from country to country actually.
Yep.
So Ghana has its own definition.
Yeah.
And it's really important to understand how those businesses are clustered because it really influences the question around what growth means.
Is, yeah.
Okay, so you have micro businesses. So, and I think that also within that, we're forgetting the micro, which much of us would find ourselves in that space, right? So, as a micro business, according to Ghana, you'd have up to 1 to 5 employees and fixed assets no more than 10,000 USD. I found it quite interesting that they define it by USD as well, right? But we can translate that to about 112,000 Ghana cedis, right? Yeah. Then the next stage up would give you you'd be a small business, and you'd have between 6 to 29 employees, and you'd have fixed assets up to 10,000 USD. Then the next scale, which is the medium, you'd have 30 to 100 employees and fixed assets up to 100,000 USD or more, right? So you can see that within that space, when we say SMEs, it's very broad.
Yep.
And then when we look at what growth would mean to each of those things, there would not be one fixed solution. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I would like us to ponder on.
All right, understand that.
I would also want to follow up with what she said about growth. Like she mentioned, every business would measure growth differently. So what would be growth for me would look different for another person. So I would say based on each individual business, you see growth year on year based on the customers you have, your starting point, and year on year being able to measure how you are, each customer you're having on a year on year basis, and how that number is growing, whether they're coming back, and how you're engaging them consistently over the period in such a way that they are there. They are coming back and you're having new leads. So even if you started your business at a particular level, year on year, you're able to measure that growth based on a number of these factors, like this: how many customers have I been able to win over within this year, and how many are there, how many am I adding on? So it varies based on different businesses and what you want to use in measuring what growth is for you.
Thank you. So I want to offer us something to work with regarding growth. So let's look at the word growth itself, G. So for a business to measure growth, the first one is the G, to gain grounds. You know, when you plant seed and it's sprouting, if it hasn't gained grounds, the wind, the water will blow it out. So the first thing, gain grounds in your small area. Gain grounds. The next is R, resilience, able to stand the storms of life, the pressures, returning goods and services, complaint, ability to be able to handle all these things. The R, able to reassure and become resilient. The next is what? Help me. O. When you are growing, you begin to create opportunities for yourself and your business. If you are not getting more opportunities or better opportunities, it means there's no growth. So by virtue of gaining grounds, become resilient and reaching out more, you will be creating opportunities for you, your brand and business. What's the next? W. It means your work must produce your worth. Not making noise, no ads, but your work. Is it worth the source? Is it worth what you are saying your brand? Is it worth what people are paying for? And in all these things, what is the next? T is critical for any business growth. If you are in business for 5-10 years and the T is not there, you cannot be trusted in our business. So I say trust is the currency for riches in this age. Can you be trusted in the 3 years in your SME, your startup? Can you be trusted? That's the biggest currency you can have. What's the last one? In all of these, when we harness all of this, we need to help people. Is my business, my brand impacting their life? Is it helping? If you measure this well, it means you are growing in your own way. Thank you.
Everything has been said.
Come on. Yeah, true.
All right, I think just to touch on that, for me, it's always going to be your team, the product, in terms of the features of the product, to be able to roll that out and gaining market share or space in whichever market you find yourself in, and engaging in politics. You're not growing as a business if you're not at the table when it comes to politics, because we all understand when policies happen, business shake. So if you're a business person and you're not in the political space, you're not growing.
Lots of questions.
Yeah. In fact, I'm just gonna jump from my question and ask, how can I get on the table if I'm a startup? Yeah. Because it's deep.
Yeah.
You have to join associations that represent your interest, right? Because there's this saying that if you're not at the table, you're at the dinner, in that sense, right? See, so again, when startups, particularly a lot of you are operating in your own space, right now we have a startup bill that is supposed to happen, right? And how many of you even know that we are developing a startup bill to help you? Because some of you don't know, because you're not in that space, right? See, so belong to associations. So even like the digital marketing space, you need to have an association that represents you at a political table. And I'm not saying join NPP, NDC, no. We're talking about policy, things that affect you. You need to engage in that space, yeah.
So, Jose, I'm just gonna pick up from the mistakes, right? Not joining a community, we all know it's a mistake if you are an entrepreneur or coming up in setting up your business. But I want to know, what other top 2 strategic mistakes that SME makes when they are trying to grow using digital marketing?
I think one of the first ones would be not knowing your audience. So you literally just post anything, you just boost it in anywhere without going on the right platforms that your audience would be on, right? Right? Because when I work with startups, we always do a customer persona. And you have to even break your persona down, because when you say to me, I'm targeting women, I'm asking you what kind of women. Then you say 18 to 35, but where do they live? And then education, then religion, and all of these other things, we will drill it all the way down. And then we will identify the platforms that these people will be on. So the second thing would be, again, you would then post on LinkedIn when most of your audience will probably be on Facebook. And also, literally, in your audience is important. And don't jump into the hype. Because then, again, because Snapchat is happening, so you just go and do something on Snapchat, right? And your team is difficult. Your team has to be involved in this whole digital marketing thing. Do not employ people that are not social media friendly. Right? Do not employ people that are not social media friendly. And the reason being, you as a company, you need your team members to also understand why you need to post online, right? And I know by nature we're very religious people, so some of you will use your WhatsApp page to just post something to do with your church, but then after hour, right? But then when it comes to your office and everything that pays you the money for you to give money to after hour, you don't want to post, right? So you have to get your team. One of the mistakes is not getting your team on board in that digital strategy, and also not knowing your audience where they play, and you just kind of boosting stuff. Yeah.
I'm gonna get back to you, but I want to finish with Josiah first. You've been able to successfully secured over 70,000 USD for some your startups, at iSpace Foundation, right? So my question now is, at an early stage, what should a startup prioritize first? I'm looking at product development, marketing, or fundraising, and why?
I like the fact that you said fundraising. It's not a chicken and egg situation, right? Because again, what's the point in having all the marketing and your product is really bad, right? But then they're just saying that a good product with bad marketing won't go anywhere, right? A bad product with good marketing can go somewhere. But that's not always true, because we can see that generation-wise, now people can go online and blast you if your product doesn't work. See, so if you are in the MVP stage, don't think marketing is just going on social media. Marketing can just literally be you doing customer discovery, talking to your customers, finding out about a product, what their pain points are, how can you make it better. That's also marketing. That's feedback, because marketing is not just the information that you put out. You also need to get that feedback to then make your product much better. And when it comes to funding, a lot of entrepreneurs or business owners look at the magic number. See, so you need 1 million to start off your business. But when I work with you, I work backwards. If you're in the MVP stage, which is, minimum viable product, I always say the unsexy but functionable product that you need to put out, right? How much does it cost you to create that product, not the 1 million that you're looking at? See, so it might be 10K. So then we're going to raise the funds for the 10K, not for the 1 million. So create the product. Then when we get traction, then we move in that order. Because anytime you think about the funding first, I need 1 million, you're not going to start off your business, because what you need the 1 million for, then you break it down. And then when you look at product development as well, don't think about product development as the way God created a human being, right? From before your mother and father met, sperm, egg, you meet, boom, it happens. Then 3 months later, you change. Another 3 months, you change. It's product life cycles, right? If you look at it, because if you, as a human being, you're born, you crawl, you walk, you run, you grow, all of those before you die, right? But you just didn't come out just like that. So there's a cycle. So when you're creating a product, you have to then go through that cycle. And so all of these things are important things to think about. So it's not a case of funding first or product first. It's about what needs to be done right now, and then walk through that steps. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Josiah. Bernard, now that Venice has explained what SME is, I think we can bring in SME now. So my question to you now is, what are the non-negotiable elements of a brand that every SME must establish before launching aggressive marketing?
Okay, so from the foundation of what he said, most of the time we don't know our product or service so well, and that's the very most important thing. The first most important thing: know your product or your service so well. It makes marketing quite easier, because if you don't know, you take the product to the market, say, what is this? How does this work? Who will need this? It becomes like you don't even know what you're about. So most important, know your product in, out, everything. That makes marketing easier. Second thing is that I'm always big on niches. Don't target the 1 million. Target which people are missing this product. The MC, I was so fascinated about what they are doing. PWDs. Mm-hmm. Powerful niche. Many a time people go to the market and say, this product is for everyone. Everybody won't buy the shoe. This is for everyone. No, these days we don't do things for everyone.
Yeah.
For all that I've been doing for the past 50 years, not for everyone. Find niches, small group of people. It might later on explode. That is fine. But if your target audience is clear, crystal, now I know my product, I know my service, I know who needs it, I know where they need it, I know why they need it. The rest of the market is very, let me use the word, easy. So let's spend time to research, study, do all the things. My product, my services, who is this one just for? It might be just two or few people. Then we look at price and all of that. But these are two most important things: your products, your services, and then who you want to serve, or the market, or the niche.
And your service is personal branding.
Right.
All right. Tell me more about that.
Okay. So to be frank with all of us and honest, all of us, people buy people. Most of the things you've got because it's you. People buy people indirectly. So if you are not likable person, words or deeds become quite easier. It's a human thing, but the value of personal brand is able to put your best foot forward. Most of the time, I don't talk about appearances and now we call settings. I talk about your real values and your purpose. The fact that everybody is doing a startup or digital product doesn't mean you should go into digital products. Yours might be someone at Makula who doesn't need a digital product now. So my focus on personal branding, find what you can do for the next person and put that thing forward. So you first, your purpose first before product, not product packaging settings. So you, who am I? Who is Josiah? Okay, all that in my life, I want to stand for startups. All my life, I want to do this. Find you, then the rest becomes again easier. So that's the first foundation of a brand. Putting your personal brand forward is you, not the other person.
We are still focusing on the you, that is the founder, right?
Right.
So how can SME founders use their personal branding to unlock their trust? I remember you talk about trust in growth, right? To unlock their trust and accelerate growth in general.
Okay, so the first thing is, every brand, every business has a story. You have a story. Okay, I realized, I'm telling a story for you. I realized that startups were struggling, so they're finding complain about money. So I decided to find a way to help them make money. Beautiful story. Okay, I realized that women find difficult accessing fashionable products. So I came up with this. Tell your story in a way to, touch the hearts of people. That way they buy into you, then the business. If you don't have a compelling story that will hook people in, PW story, they are left out. Okay, my granny has a disability. For all the 15 years she spent doing this, she missed. So I decided to come out with this to meet that need, that gap, that story. So a brand story. And the second thing again, I'm always good for this, trust factor. Don't go for settings. Don't go for settings. If you cannot be trusted, you have no business branding or selling your market or your business. Let's build trust. Gen Z is here. Let's build trust. Trust is the pillar in which a founder can then bring in more business and spread the network.
All right. It's heavy. I don't know about you, but this is heavy. Yeah.
Can I add?
Oh, you want to ask? Sure.
So is it at a different angle from what has been shared? Okay, I think that it can, in some instances, when people build a business around their personal brand, it can be quite detrimental because the whole intention is that businesses are entities on their own, driven by people. Okay, so if you understand that as a principle, it should exist beyond the person or the people, and it does. It's like I akin it to a child too. A child from birth will take what it needs in order to survive from you. Okay, and businesses are pretty much the same. So when you're thinking about how you infuse your personal brand into a business, one, I would say, distinct yourself, like build the brand, yes, and build your personal brand, but try and fuse them in a way that if you step away from the business, yes, and it will survive, because not everybody is going to be looking to meet you, the person, because that's what's going to secure the sale. You're not always going to be there. So it's a clever thing to do. Infusing what is your essence into the business's brand, but not you as a person, so that the business cannot exist without you.
I mean, I was going to say the same, but because I'm just being to an event like this, they can make you late and prioritize all other equally important.
I hear you.
That's exactly what I was saying. But the point I was going to make has just been teased out by Venice. I call it systemize the founder. It's one of the problems we have within our ecosystem. The fact that I started an SME and people know me, and so I must be everywhere. You realize that you're choking the firm, you're choking your business, because you need to go beyond you. You can build your personal brand, let the business also grow, let that brand also grow, so that you move past you. It would carry your vision, or carry your story, and you create the business story. But must you be everywhere? No. And if your client realizes that you are the face, when you introduce another person, they will still be calling you. Somebody says, oh, that's a revelation. So systemize the founder, build systems. And that's a way that you can even scale up as a business.
Josiah, do you want to close that?
Yeah, I agree. But then I guess when we look at this, we need to look at the difference between a CEO and then a founder. And then sometimes you get a CEO and the founder. This is where there is that interplay. Because if I just, let's say, for some reason, MTN decided to hire me as a CEO, I can easily build my I can easily build my personal brand outside of MTN, because they already have their brand, right? But if I am the founding, person, and the person also running the business, like you said, people want to come to you every single time, going to need something to then, trust your brand and trust the individual and purchase from you, right? But then we also live in a culture that you have to remember that a lot of the positions or the job positions that we have in this country are pretty new, right? And the people that you're hiring into these spaces don't have the capacity, they don't have the skill set that is needed in reality. Because even when we have people either calling ourselves AI experts, marketing, digital marketing experts, or product development experts, really we are not. Most of us are in the MVP stage, right? So in this case, as a founder, you are stuck in that space trying to grow the team. So if you detach yourself from that space, then your brand will also suffer. So it's, again, building the culture. It takes time to build the culture, because that's something that we have to be mindful of. The building a brand culture is really difficult to do. See, so I think that we are in that space where a lot of the, I'll say, business owners are becoming the face and, the main recognized person. We just need to cut them a little bit of grace and then help them move away from that. But let's not make it seem like that's something that you need to do straight away, because it can destroy your business, so to speak. Because if you hire the wrong people, sikana shit.
Give it. Senam.
There you go.
Okay, I was just going to chip in because everybody has spoken about it, so it was important. And I had this example in my mind because I founded Women in Public Relations about 10 years ago. And yes, over a period, a lot of people knew me for Women in PR. But I realized that I was also getting to a phase in my life where I wasn't going to be present at every point in time. So one of the key things I had to do, yes, I'm the founder. I had to step a little away because I knew I wasn't going to be available to get an executive with a president.
Yeah.
Right, so I built a community over a period. So even now, we've gotten to a phase where I'm not available most of the time, but the community or the organization is thriving because, yes, I am not there, but there are people who have taken up the role. But I didn't do it right from the beginning because I didn't want to conflict. It was still a baby. We're growing this, we're building the community and the organization. But over a period, I realized that I needed to do that because if I still wanted to be leading it and I'm not available, a lot of the initiatives, the ideas, all the things we wanted to do, we couldn't have achieved it. So I think it's a very dicey situation, but you also need to understand the stage where you are in your business to know if it was good, because sometimes if you don't hire properly, there are some people who take your business away. You step aside and allow them to be the face, and then when they leave, they carry all the customers and all these people away. So you all just need to understand the dynamics before you make that decision of whether to attach your personal brand to your business or to carry it up until some point. Because there are a lot of businesses today we are consuming. Actually, we don't even know who the owners are. There are a lot of products we walk to the supermarket and all things to buy. We don't even know who is behind it. We are using the products because it serves as a certain purpose for us, and not because there's a person or there's a face behind it. So it's a fair balance we need to identify before we make that decision.
Yeah, believe it or not, I was actually about to ask you this question: how you can use PR to detach the founder from the business, right? And you've already said it to a certain extent, but I want you to go in briefly. What steps or strategy did you initiate to detach yourself from women in PR?
So like I mentioned, I have an advisory board. So I had gotten to a phase, let me say, I was pregnant. And
Wonderful phase.
And I knew that within that period, I won't be available to be at meetings, all the ideas, all the plans, all the initiatives that I wanted us to do, because I really, really wanted Women in PR to still run. So one of the decisions that I took was to speak to the advisory and said, what do we do? So we came up with an idea to set up an executive committee. So we identified one person from the advisory board to be the president. And we tasked him to find a few more people that should be able to work with. And that's how it started. And they've been able to do that for the last 2 years. And now we are moving to the next phase of identify a new set of executives. So it's more about identifying that at this point, will the business or organization be able to stand on its own without you being there? Because you also don't want, and there are lots of SMEs today, they take a break. You could see the business has stalled. You go on their social media, there's nothing happening. You go on, there's so much you could, just by tracing a few things, you realize that you message them, it takes forever. It's because, for all you know, the CEO is doubling as the social media manager, is doubling as the content creator, is doubling as the salesperson. You're doing so many things. So just the very moment you're not able to do that, you realize your business is on a standstill. So we all need to identify all these things, put in the systems. Yes, I know it's also an issue about talent, identifying the right people who can do it. And I hope in your bid to do that, you find the right people who can sit in when you are away.
Set up, can you please pass the mic to Venus? All right. Let's talk about architecture. I don't want to give any preamble. Let's talk about architecture. How can small businesses adapt the mindset of architecture without needing huge budgets?
Yeah, the topic of budget comes in hugely, right, in terms of resources, you know. When we talk about, so architecture is my philosophy, by which it's a structure by which can be applied to tell your creative story. So it's a fusion of insights, that's one. So data, your strategy, so your insights will feed into a strategy. So what type of problem are you trying to solve? Then we use creativity, because I'm a creative, we're surrounded by creatives. How can creativity be used to come up with a solution? And then you apply that to technology. And technology doesn't mean, we're talking about digital spaces now, but technology can also mean what techniques, if you are a designer, what techniques can you use? What innovations can you develop within your space that can be classed as a technology? And then you go to market with it.
So the question again,
when we look at how can a small business
adopt your philosophy?
Yes, you look at, first of all, what resource you have, right? And we all, from the scale that we've looked at, just because you're classed as an SMEs, I've worked with SMEs who have $1 million budgets, right? And I've worked with micro businesses that started with 300 Ghana cedis, right? and that's the resource that they have. Within all that, they will need to manage so it's really looking internally and saying, okay, what it is that I'm trying to achieve here, right? And what resource do I have? And what would be the best mechanism to provide the solution for me, right? So if I take, I'd use myself as an example. I produce wearable art pieces. So this jewelry I'm wearing, okay? I don't have like a huge marketing budget, but I know that I need to produce, and in production, I need to source my raw materials, and I have teams of people who I will create, but who will produce the products, the elements of the products for me. Then I have a production team who assemble, then we know that we're going to build the assets that we need to do our marketing. Okay, so you will then do a photo shoot, right, for your product shoot. You will do like a brochure which you'll use for general marketing, and then you'll look at how you'll populate your social media platforms in order for you to push, right? Each of those requires a budget, right? And so if you have a minimal one, you have to decide, okay, well, when you're budgeting, what am I going to invest in each, right? Where my priority? Often for small SMEs, it will be I need the product, because that's what's going to generate everything else, right? And marketing comes at the last base in which I'm going to push. So you optimize your they're not owned, but they're not also free. They're free for access, but they collect your data. So your meta platforms, because you know that on those you can easily build something without a cost, right? If you're able to, I'd say at a very early stage, you'd invest in an own platform which you control. So a website whereby you're able to optimize for yourself, right? And also you'd be able to link in payment platforms that enable digital payments and stuff, right? So I guess, those are a few examples. It really does stem back on what your problem is, what your objective is, what budget you have to invest in, what your priority is in terms of a business, and what stage you are. So.
All right.
I think we need to clap for her, right? Because the reason why I'm saying that is, and she's actually come up with her own philosophy, right? And this is somebody that's coming from our background, because usually a lot of the philosophies that you find are Western philosophies that tells you how to do things in Africa, but at least this is one of your own that is designed the philosophy that we can apply. So I think you need to clap for her for that.
That's great. Matthew, in your work with brands across Africa, what separates SMEs that scale successfully from those that stagnate?
All right, thank you very much. I'll start answering that with an example. Just last week, I was on IG and I chanced on a video where a lady was talking about how her two kids were having some allergies. There was always something on their legs, on their hands, and she would go to the hospital, giving medication and a lot of things, but she was not getting results. And out of that, she later observed that they had to do a dust mite allergy. Because of that, I had to now go and read it. But I realized that I'm a father. In this case, I'm not even a mother to be so much concerned, even though I'm concerned about my kids and all of that. But things to do with allergies and things, normally fathers are not really that concerned. But she won my heart with that message. And I intentionally read through the comments. All of them were talking about the fact that I'm DMing you, I'm interested in this. For a long time, we've been battling with this and we don't have personalization.
That is effective communication.
That is it. Effective communication. Just saying the right things to the right people at the right places. A lot of SMEs that do not really they're all over the place. When they think of communication, spread
Mass.
it. You know, typically they say, "Oh, put it out there and boost." I don't know why they like those words a lot. But we are in an era where you need to personalize, find your right niche. And I'm happy niche was mentioned here. So you need to have a niche. You need to find them. You need to tell them their story. Then another thing is, we tend to spend more time talking about ourselves instead of talking about.
When you say ourselves, what do you mean? Is it the business?
The business, the product. I am this. I am this. It's like selling shoes. I sell shoes. Brown color. The 100 Ghana DM for price. Whereas you are not talking about me, my pain point, the solution.
Right.
So those things are important. Then beyond that, businesses, SMEs, which scale and those who don't scale. One of the things people underestimate is a standard operating procedure. Because you build it with your identity, you build it with your vision, but you want to grow. You need to have a system, you need to have a structure. When anybody walks in, they should be able to follow that structure so that together we help to build the vision. We are in a wicked world in 2025. People walk in there and all they care about is your paycheck. At the end of the month, I move. So a lot of people are like hirelings, and they don't really care about the fact that you want to move to Africa and beyond Africa. But if you have an SOP in there, it guides everybody. We are saying the same thing, we're moving in the same direction. Tomorrow, if you are not there, we follow that. That's another way of pitching beyond yourself, so that you can scale up. Then again, we quite a number of SMEs also underestimate the fact that digital marketing comes at a price. So it's like a myth. It's free. It's not free. Organically, a lot of people except your storytelling is that good. Like the woman's example that caught me. She didn't have to sponsor the ad for me to meet her. It was just she sharing her story and how she came up with a product, and she showed us how she went through the product and the final output, and we're sold on it. And so we need to be very intentional about that. If we're not intentional, then we're all over the place. We don't really have an identity. Our digital marketing, we'll talk about it, but we'll not really implement it. We need to find a way of getting the right people to help us to do it. And sometimes we also say that it's expensive. I believe it's the reason why we have an ecosystem like this, where sometimes you can fall on, goodwill, your friends to support you to do it. Because if you don't have the budget to do what you have to do, there's a way you can have a conversation, win-win. John Maxwell is always big on how I get you to look better, do better, win better. That's how I also get better. So if we leverage these relationships, it would help us to push our marketing, digital marketing efforts to move past it.
All right.
Then finally, I'll keep it at this.
But we'll be doing some networking sessions, so you can always come to Matthew for further questions, right? Bernard, I want to come to you briefly. In the next 5 years, what long-term branding decisions can position an SME to grow sustainably?
Should I start on something funny or interesting?
Briefly.
So they mentioned a lot of things. So one is systems. Say that's one of my latest requirements. If there are no systems, your marketing procedures may eventually fail. So there should be a system. Then we can then measure. Okay, what are our failures? What are our successes? And now your one, the system, work with the system, and two, study the market, the audience. Because audience changes, interest desires change. We all know the story about, Nokia and all of that. So pay attention. So in 2 words, one, get feedback. Great brands listen, learn, and leverage. So listen always, learn, and leverage. With this, you can show that you sustain your brand for the next 5 years and beyond. Because if you stay glued to what you just know or what has been working till now, the next 2 years, things might totally change. So listen, learn, and leverage.
Listen, learn, and leverage. So,
If I don't see the last 200
Insha will beat me, guys. Insha will beat me. Please.
one for 1 minute.
Yes,
so
so that's
there are
what
two
I'm
things.
about to.
You know, trust was mentioned. I want to top it up with credibility. You see, you've started a business, you want to move to a certain level. What you say, you must do. It's one of the things killing a lot of SMEs within Ghana and Africa. We say one thing, exactly, walk the talk. We say one thing, we say all sorts of nice things. The moment we get the business, then we're a different breed. But we don't see what it really tells our client. And our client is a very small community. They're always talking about us, and your name will pop up. Then finally, again, from experience on the field, we a lot of SMEs don't take our visual identity, brand identity seriously. We did some work recently, and I saw amazing product